Welcome back. In the previous lectures, we have talked about different types of operators, the condition of operators, eigenfunctions, eigenvalues, commutations, and we have derived quantum mechanical operators, specifically the linear momentum operator, kinetic energy operator, and total energy operators. Okay, so let's write those operators once again. And here, please keep in mind that we have assumed that the particle is moving only along one direction. So if we assume the particle is moving along x direction, that means the de Broglie wave associated with the particle is also going along x direction. Under that condition, the linear momentum operator was minus IH cut del x. That was our linear momentum operator. Our kinetic energy operator in one dimension case was minus h cut square by 2m del 2 del x2. Potential energy operator was same as potential energy, and generally potential energy is a function of position only. Generally, for conservative system, potential energy is a function of position only. So since we are talking about one dimension only, so it is function of x only. In 3D, it should be function of x, y, z. Example, if you move your pen, say at a height of 5 feet from the ground, then what will be the potential energy? mgh. H is 5 feet. That will be the potential energy operator. So it is same as potential energy. And we had the total energy operator as IH cut del t. Okay. Now, the sum of this kinetic energy operator and potential energy operator is called Hamiltonian operator. Sum of kinetic energy and potential energy operator is called Hamiltonian operator. It is denoted by H. So H cap is nothing but EK cap plus VK. That means it is simple, minus H cut square by 2m del 2 del x2 plus Vx. That is our Hamiltonian operator in one dimension. Okay. So these will be the operators that will be sufficient for our course. Why we are studying it? Why I am bothering about these operators? Now, whenever you have started learning classical mechanics, that means the Newtonian mechanics, what you have learned? You have learned the 3 laws of Newton's. And it says that whenever you give force on a body of mass m, it moves with an acceleration a, then you say force equal to mass into acceleration. In other words, you can write it as force equals to m. What is acceleration? If I say x is the displacement, then acceleration can be written as d2x dt2. Okay. So this is the second order differential equation. Now, for different conditions, you can solve this equation like I am throwing a ball of mass, say m, inside a water body. Okay. Then there will be several types of force acting on that ball. All that force will be considered and we will find out the vector sum of all the forces. That means actually we should write it as m d2x vector dt2 equals to f. F is the force which is the sum of all the forces acting on that body. Now, if we can solve it, that means I know the what are the type of forces. That means I know the expression of those forces. From that, I'll calculate first dx dt. That means I'll integrate to get the velocity. Again, we'll integrate to get the displacement. Once I get all these things, then everything will be known. Because if I know this displacement of that body, we know the velocity of the body, If we know the velocity of the body, we know the acceleration of the body. If I know the acceleration, then I know the energy. So in Newtonian mechanics, starting point is to find out the position. We have the force equation. So this is the equation. We need to solve this equation. For any type of classical mechanics problem, you need to solve it. Solve mass into acceleration equal to total forces. You need to solve that equation. That's all. If you solve it, you get the x value. That means the displacement of that particle. Once you get the displacement, all other quantities can be estimated. In quantum mechanics, whenever we want to find out different properties of a moving body, different properties means displacement, velocity, acceleration, energy, etc., etc. These are the dynamic properties of that moving body. Then we need an equation also. Once we have the equation and we can solve that equation, then we can find out those quantities. So my point is simple. I need an equation in quantum mechanics. And that equation is called Schrodinger's equation. We call that equation, which is similar to Newtonian mechanics as Newton's force or force equation. Newton's force equation in classical mechanics. Similarly, in quantum mechanics, we have an equation called Schrodinger's equation. German scientist, so it is not O. Erwin Schrodinger's. From his name, we call that equation Schrodinger's equation. First thing, we need to derive that equation. There are so many ways of that derivation. In fact, whenever I give you the note, I can show you another way to find out that Schrodinger's equation. But now we know the operators. So I will use the easiest technique to find out the Schrodinger's equation. The technique we'll use will be borrowed from classical mechanics. In classical mechanics, what Hamiltonian is a quantity in classical. Hamiltonian represents the sum of kinetic and potential energy. That is total energy. Hamiltonian represents the sum of kinetic and potential energy. That means H equals to Ek plus V, kinetic plus potential energy. But there is a condition. It only occurs under conservation. Okay, forget about it. I will borrow that. So Hamiltonian represents, that's why we can say Hamiltonian operator is sum of kinetic energy operator and potential energy operator. That I have said you before. Okay. Therefore, if we use a wave function, there are certain properties of wave function. We'll discuss about that. But we have observed one type of wave function. What we have observed, we have said that if the particle is moving along x direction, then the wave associated with it is represented by a wave function, and that wave function can be written as, for free particle, as, again, what should I write? Omega t minus kx or kx minus omega t? We'll write px minus et here. We'll write it in this way. Though from the property of wave function, we can write the opposite also. But physically, it should be written in this way. So this is our wave function, and this is our Hamiltonian operator. Now, operator operates on something. So Hamiltonian operator, I'm operating Hamiltonian operator on our wave function. What should be the result? We must get some value. But before we write the value, that means eigenequation. I'm not writing eigenequation here. When H operator operates on psi, we should get psi back multiplied by a constant. That is eigenvalue. I'm not doing that. What I want to understand here, that how Hamiltonian operator is written. Sum of kinetic energy operator and potential energy operator. And from our knowledge of classical mechanics, we know total energy is also represented by kinetic energy plus potential energy, isn't it? We know total energy means sum of kinetic energy and potential energy. That's how we are taught in classical mechanics. Therefore, I can say this equals to total energy operator operating on psi also. This is same. This should be same. Under conservative system, Hamiltonian operator, when operates on psi, it gives a value. That same value should be obtained if total energy operator operates on psi. Same value should be obtained because Hamiltonian operator and total energy operator represent the same thing in conservative system. What was Hamiltonian operator? We know the Hamiltonian operator as minus h cut square by 2m, that is kinetic energy operator. Del 2 del x2 plus Vx, that is our Hamiltonian operator operating on psi. Remember, psi here is a function of x and t, equals to total energy operator was IH cut del psi del t. So this equation is called time dependent Schrodinger's equation. We call it time dependent Schrodinger's equation. Why? Because you observe time is here. Time is here. In the equation, time is within the equation. Time is represented within this equation. That's why we call this as time dependent Schrodinger's equation. Time dependent Schrodinger's equation. So if you are asked, write down Schrodinger's equation, this is the easiest way to write it down. You just use your Hamiltonian operator operating on psi equals to total energy operator operating on psi. You know Hamiltonian and total energy operator, just write down. You get the time dependent Schrodinger's equation. Easiest way. Now, this equation is same as or similar to Newtonian force equation in classical mechanics. That means in classical mechanics we have to solve x. Here we have to solve psi. So what was psi? We are talking about psi initially from the beginning. What is psi? Psi is actually the solution of Schrodinger's equation. Psi, if you are asked, is not in physics. Sometimes later, when you say I have studied quantum mechanics to some extent, and some people ask you what is psi here, don't try to explain psi. You will just say psi. No, actually, no one can explain psi. You can simply say psi is the solution of the Schrodinger's equation. This is a mathematical thing completely. Don't try to interpret it physically. So psi is the solution of the Schrodinger's equation. So we need to find out psi, and actually for a moving particle, for a small tiny moving particle of like any interatomic particle, like an electron, all the information about its dynamic nature, that is its position, momentum, energy, etc., all are within this psi. All information is actually stored within the psi. Once you know the psi, you can estimate other quantities. But please keep in mind, you cannot say for sure that will be the value. You can say probability. That means probability of finding the position, you can say. Probability of finding the momentum, you can say. But for that also, you require psi. You require the knowledge of psi. So in other words, all information of a moving particle is actually within this psi quantity. And this psi is called wave function. Okay. So next, what we have to do? We have to find out psi. As simple as that. That means we have to solve this equation. We have to solve this equation under defined condition. Like whenever electrons are flowing through a metal, then there is a certain condition under which the electrons movement is there. That means there are some restrictions imposed on that movement of those electrons. Whereas in case of gas molecules, when a small gas molecule is moving within a gas, then the restriction would be different. That means under different condition, you may have to solve this psi. And it's not very easy. You are observing this is a one-dimensional equation. We will later on observe the three-dimensional equation. That means other components, y, z components will also be there. So, and it is a secondary differential equation. So it is a bit tricky to solve. So what we want to do before we go to that special cases, we will solve some special cases. Before going into that, we will try to reduce it. That means here, one thing we understand, position and time both are present, and that's why it is so difficult. if we can remove position from time, space from time, better to say, if you can separate space from time, then it will be easier to solve. It will be easier to solve. That means we need to use the separation of variable technique. The rule British imposed on us, divide and rule. We'll use that divide and rule. We'll divide x or space from time. How will you do that? So that technique is called separation of variables. Question comes. Okay, we'll talk about the question later better. So how will you do that? So again, let us write the equation first. Our equation was minus h car square by 2m del 2 psi del x2. Hopefully you understand this quantity operate on psi. So what will be minus h square by 2m del 2 psi del x2 plus v operate on psi. Just multiplication. So v psi. So plus v psi. Psi, we remember, is a function of x and t equals to ih cut del psi del t. This is our time dependent Schrodinger equation. What will you do? We want to separate. Simple method. Let psi, which is a function of x and t, is composed of two functions. Actually, it is a product of, say, two functions. One function is u, which is a function of x only, and phi, which is a function of t only. So what we do? We just write psi as product of two different functions. One will be function of x, another will be function of t. That's all. Then rest is simple. Then what we require? Del 2 psi del x2. What we require? We require del psi del t. We will do it first. Del psi del t. What is del psi del t? Del psi del t means u is independent of time, so it is constant. It will be d phi dt. Observe, instead of del, now I am writing d. Why I have written del here? Because psi was function of two quantities, x and t. That's why I have to use partial differentiation. Whereas phi is a function of time only. No other option. So that's why d phi dt. Next, what we require? Del psi del x. What will be del psi del x? So in this case, phi remains constant because it has no space dependent quantity. It is only time dependent quantity. So phi remains constant. So what we have? Du dx. What we require here? We require actually del 2 psi del x2. Del 2 psi del x2 will be then this. Simple. Now put the values. So put it in our equation. So minus h car square by 2m. Instead of del 2 psi del x2, what we write? Phi d2u dx2 plus v psi means u phi. I'm not writing ux phi t. Hopefully you understand it. Equals to ih cut del phi del t means u d phi dt. Okay. Still they are not separated. Remember, what is our objective? Separate time from space. Now observe on left hand side. U is space dependent. X is there. Phi is time dependent. So mixed. Right hand side also. U, phi, both are present. Space and time dependent. Both are present. So still they are not separated. So what can I do? Divide left hand side and right hand side by psi. That means u phi. Divide left hand side and right hand side by u phi. So what will be our expression now? Del minus h car square by 2m. If I divide left hand side by u phi, phi cancel out. What remains? This one, 1 by u, d2u dx2 plus only vx, because we are dividing by u phi, equal to ih cut ih cut 1 by phi d phi dt. Now check your copy. What you observe? What you observe? On left hand side, either you have x or you have u and v. Both u and v are space dependent quantity. V we have defined potential energy is a function of x only, and u is a function of x only. So both space dependent quantities. So all quantities are here, either x, that means space, or space dependent quantity. On right hand side, t is there, time is there, and phi is there. Phi is time dependent function. So only time related quantities are there, no space dependent quantity. That means now left hand side is space dependent thing, right hand side is time dependent. So now left hand side is space dependent quantities, right hand side is time dependent quantities. They are separated. That is called separation of variable. So now we have separated it. We have completely separated space from time. Now what we can do? We can write each equals to some constant. That means since this is space dependent, left hand side, right hand side is time dependent, this can be written to a constant. What constant? For that, again we write our wave function. I can directly write it, but I think I should show you why that constant comes and how it is coming. So that was our wave function. So what will be del psi del t? This whole thing, that is psi. So that is our del psi del t. We have done it before. But now we know another information, that psi is equals to ux phi t. It is u into phi, that is psi. So put it here. So if I put it here, so instead of del psi del t, if I differentiate this one, what will get? U d phi dt, isn't it? Del psi del t is nothing but, if I differentiate this quantity, it will be u d phi dt. This equals to minus I by h cut e. What is psi? U phi. So u cancel out. What is left? H cut by I. That means minus I. Minus is plus. So I h cut 1 by phi, this phi, d phi dt, equals to what we get? E. Isn't it? I have written it in this way so that ultimately on right hand side we have energy. Why I have written it in this way? What I have done? This is our wave function. I differentiate the wave function with respect to time, I get this. And del psi del t can be written in terms of u phi in this way. And this psi is u phi. So from that, what we get? I h cut 1 by phi d phi dt equals to E. Why I have written it in this way? Now, come back. On right hand side, what we have? I h cut 1 by phi d phi dt. I h cut 1 by phi d phi dt. And what we get? That value is nothing but energy. So this left hand side equals to right hand side equals to that constant is nothing but energy, total energy. Total energy is conserved. So that constant is nothing but the total energy. So left hand side equals to right hand side is equals to total energy. During your, if the question is, write down Schrodinger's time dependent equation, you write it. From the time dependent equation, find out time independent equation. Then during the process, you need to write down this left hand side equal to right hand side equals to some constant, and that constant is energy, this E. During the process, you may or may not show how this energy comes. This is this process. Okay. So I hope you have written this part up to this. So now we can write it. So we can write now left hand side equal to that constant and right hand side equals to that constant. I can write left hand side equals to constant and right hand side equals to constant. That means now if I start with the right hand side, so right hand side, what that right hand side tells us? I h cut 1 by phi d phi dt equals to E. Okay. Or from that I can write it d phi by phi equals to E by I h cut, that means minus I by h cut dt. Can I write it in this way? You can write minus IE by h cut or just E by IH cut. Same thing. That means this, or just write E by IH cut. Same thing. No problem. That is this. So point is, this can be written. Now integrate it. If I integrate it, minus I E by h cut dt, integrate it. So what we'll get? This is nothing but log phi equals to minus I E t by h cut plus some constant. For our convenience, I am writing that constant as log c. That means what we have, log of phi by c equals to minus I E t by h cut, or what will be phi by c? Phi by c equals to e to the power right hand side, because we have ln, natural log, on left hand side. So if I try to remove this log, then that means I want to write phi by c, then it will be phi by c will be e to the power minus I E t by h cut. So what will be phi? C into this. So phi, which was which is a time function, which is a function of time, is this. So what we get? What we get? Phi equals to c e to the power minus I E t by h cut. We know that value. So one part of psi is already known. I need not to calculate it. What was our objective? Our objective is to solve Schrodinger's time-dependent equation. Why we need to solve? Because we need to write down psi. We need to find out psi, because psi has all the information. So we need to find psi. As simple as that. But it is difficult to solve that equation. That's why we have written it in such a way that time and space part are separated. And during the separation, what we have done? We have written psi. We have written psi as product of u and phi. So if I know u and phi individually, I know psi. That is the objective. That it is hard to find out psi directly. So better separate space and time. Now you can rule. So you need to find u, you need to find phi separately. But you observe here, we need not to find phi. Time dependent part is already known. Its form is some constant e to the power I E t by h cut. That means if you know the energy, then that phi is also known. If you know the energy, phi is known. You need not to bother about phi. Trust me, you need not to bother about phi. What you need to solve actually is u. If you solve u, phi is already known, you multiply it just. But how will you find u? Now left hand side. Observe left hand side. This was our left hand side. Minus h cut square by 2m, 1 by u d2u dx2 plus vx equals to e. So if I use the left hand side now, then what was the equation? Minus h cut square by 2m d2u dx2. Oh, there's one by u was there. Minus h cut square by 2m, 1 by u is there. So 1 by u is there. Plus Vx was there. This equals to constant. That constant is energy. This equation is called time independent Schrodinger's equation, because now there is no time involved here. Or we can write it in a better way as d2u dx2 plus twice m by h cut square e minus v, and this 1 by u here, u, this equals to 0. Again a second order Schrodinger's equation, as a second order differential equation. But this equation has no time or time dependent quantity. So this equation is called time independent Schrodinger equation. Time independent Schrodinger's equation. And we need to actually solve this equation only. We need not to bother about the time dependent Schrodinger's equation. Under defined condition, we'll get different value of v. We'll put that value of v. There will be certain condition to impose. We'll use those conditions and we'll find out u. It's very easy. Trust me. It's not you are doing this for first time. That's why you may think it's tough, but it's not. When you do the application, you'll understand. So what you'll do, you need to find out, you need to know the value of V under that condition, and then you can solve the value of U. Once you know U, automatically energy will be known. Once energy and U are known, phi is also known. Then psi will be U into phi. That will be your psi. So it is EC. Phi. What is the form of phi we obtained? I E by h cut. That was the form. Exponentially decaying function. Exponentially decaying function. That was the expression. So you observe, we only need U. Once you know U, energy is known. That means all the quantities are known. Psi is known then. So if the question is, I have discussed so many things here, but if the question is specifically write down time independent time dependent Schrödinger's equation, then this is your time dependent Schrödinger's equation. This is your time dependent Schrödinger's equation. Then question comes from this, find out time independent Schrödinger's equation. Then what you do? You use psi equal to u phi, separate space and time dependent quantity, equate each to a constant energy. Then question was not to find phi. Question was to derive Schrödinger's time independent equation. So from this, you will just write this left hand side equals to energy. That means this portion only. Only few lines. If you actually go through the proper process, that means from time independent to time independent. This is the process.